The Trek Geeks Podcast Network is proud to have Fansets as its presenting sponsor. Fansets is the place for amazing pin collectibles with over 400 officially licensed Star Trek pins and new releases every month. Stay tuned for a special discount code good on your next order at fansets.com just for Trek Geeks listeners. Fansets. Our pins have character.
This episode is also sponsored by Science Division, the makers of the galaxy's first interactive tribble that you can control with your very own smartphone. See their limited edition giant silver tribble available for pre-order today at sciencediv.com. Science Division. Trouble's never been this fun.
Hi, this is John Billingsley, Dr. Phil Phlox from Star Trek Enterprise. Now, I'm reading something that was written for me, and I think they could have done better. So this is not me, this is them. My prescription for you is a healthy dose of the Trek Geeks podcast starring Dan Davidson and Bill He Could Have Done Better Smith. It truly is the best medicine. Oh, come on, boys. And here's how they close it. Doctor's orders. Shame, tisk, tisk.
For the record, that was Dan Davidson that wrote that.
That was me.
Wow. Well,
that's even better because now it's forever blamed on Bill.
That's forever blamed on Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Bakula.
There you go. Ooh, wow. All right. All right.
From the office of phase shifting at Podfleet Command, it's the biggest little show this side of the Alpha Quadrant and the flagship of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network. Greetings to you, spacefaring travelers all across the galaxy, and welcome to the Trek Geeks Podcast. I'm your co-host, Bill Smith. Welcome to episode number 285. At least, wow, I didn't know I could count that high, but yet here we are. We got a great show on tap for you today. We're going to talk about a classic episode of the original Star Trek, and I can't wait. Joining me, of course, is my co-host. I can assure you that if he were sort of in interspace, like Captain Kirk is in the Tholian Web, I would leave him in a heartbeat and just go along my merry way as the new captain of the ship. Yeah. He is the largely phasing in and out Dan Davidson. And Dan, welcome aboard, muchacho. Unmute, muchacho.
Oh, gee, I had a whole thing planned and everything, but you had me mute before we started. I had to go tell my work I was going to lunch, and I came back and forgot to mute. So the whole thing's just not even going to worth doing it anymore. Hi, it's good to see you. Got a great episode today.
Yeah, I can't wait, especially when you bring your A game like that.
I know, I try. I'm sorry. It's great to be here as always. I love sitting in front of the microphone and the camera when I finally get them to work to record an episode with you, my friend. And this week we're going to be talking about one of my favorite TOS episodes ever. And
Is it really?
It really is. I love it. It's one of the ones that I remember watching the most when I first started collecting the VHS tapes when they started coming out, singular episodes, way, way back. I think one of the first 3 or 4 that I got included this one, the Tholian Web, Season 3, Episode 9, I want to say?
9.
Yeah.
9.
And it's just one that I just would watch over and over again. I really loved it. Yeah. So I'm happy we're talking
I had
about
no
it.
idea.
Yeah.
That's pretty great. I mean, I remember watching it. I remember thinking there was a little bit of hokiness to it, but we'll get to that later. Because, I mean, 60s special effects, right?
I know. It's great, though.
There's only so realistic you can make Bill Shatner standing around looking like he's floating. Ooh.
And let's be honest, Bill Shatner doesn't float.
You don't either, so let's just...
I sink like a stone, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh, man, that sounds awesome. Wow, did I say that out loud?
All right. We all know it's true.
Well, Dan, one of the things that we want to celebrate this week is the return of weekly episodes of the Trek Geeks podcast. You and I, for the last 6+ months, have had our sort of professional lives in a bit of upheaval, thanks to a massive security event at work that saw us working all kinds of ungodly hours, and it caused us to put Discovering Trek Discovery on hold and to take Trek Geeks to every other week when we could do it and when we weren't having COVID and when we weren't dealing with other stuff. But as of this week, we resume weekly episodes of the Flagship, and I am very excited about this.
Yeah, I think it's really going to be great. I mean, we always look forward to sitting down and talking, and finally we're at a point where we can be like, oh, I mean, we've even have it happen a couple of times when we were doing bi-weekly, where, sorry, I'm in the middle of something, we can't record today, and then it turns into we can't record this week. So I'm really glad that we're in a place now professionally and personally with health and stuff like that, where we can get back to the weekly stuff, which, to be honest, it's what the 7 listeners want. So, I mean, we're going to give it to them, right?
7? We're up to 7?
Yes, I got a new listener. I got a new one yesterday. His name's Don Davidson Jr. So, family members.
Wait, no, family doesn't count.
Okay, then we got 5.
Besides, Don's not going to remember he listened.
Doesn't listen. He I could call him a jerk.
You don't listen either.
I don't have to. I have to put up with you long enough just live.
No. You always try to turn it on me when it's your failing. For 7 years, almost 7.5 years, Actually, it is 7.5 years. Yeah. You haven't listened to your own podcast, so I don't want to hear it.
I've listened to at least 4 episodes.
Out of 285. Okay.
Hey, the percentage is climbing, baby.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. I might listen to this one just to hear myself sound like an idiot. Well, that could be any episode, right?
Some days you just do my work for me.
It's great to be here.
Well, Dan, we always want to take a moment to thank our friends at Fansets for being the presenting sponsor of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network. We are just a few weeks away now from reuniting with our friends out in Las Vegas, and we know they're working hard on getting some new releases to show at the 56-year Mission Convention.
Yeah, that's right, man. As always, we know that they're going to have big news for the Vegas show, and we're certain they're going to have some great new releases. But why wait until then, man? I mean, we always love getting new pins, and there are some beautiful ones available right now over at fansets.com. The latest in the Women of Trek pin is a doozy. It is Tendi from Lower Decks, and she even has her cute little puppy, aptly named The Dog, along with her. It's beautiful, and of course, it has glitter. Also new from Fansets this week is the Prodigy Delta in both pin and magnetic form, as well as Dal, Zero, and Murph, all, of course, from Star Trek Prodigy.
I have been waiting for that Prodigy Delta for so long, and it is just so gorgeous. So everyone, you know what I'm going to say right now. Get on over to fansets.com, put all those new pins and some accessories in your cart, maybe even some gift cards, and at checkout, be sure to enter the discount code TrekGeeks for 10% off your entire order just for being a listener. That's TrekGeeks in all capital letters with no spaces. And don't forget, when you spend more than $30, you will automatically get free shipping in the United States.
Fansets. Our pins have character, and we thank our friends at Fansets for being the presenting sponsor of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network. So, Science Division, the makers of the galaxy's first interactive Tribble, is celebrating a big anniversary this year, and you get the savings.
To celebrate 3 years of Tribble adoption, Science Division is having their giant anniversary sale. Now, for a limited time, you can get $5 off a standard size Tribble, $10 off a giant limited edition Tribble, and for a limited time, their brand new line of accessories is available for purchase online. This includes extra soft heather blue t-shirts and eco-friendly black tote bags, each featuring the Science Division Gamma Ray Burst logo in white. Science Division supports local businesses, and the t-shirts and tote bags are supplied by a print shop in their hometown. Plus, you can get free shipping in the United States with purchases of 2 or more items with the code SHIPFREE. That's SHIPFREE in all capital letters with no spaces.
Awesome. But, you got to hurry. You got to get on over to sciencediv.com right now because the Science Division anniversary sale runs now through 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday, July 31st.
Science Division. Trouble's never been this fun. And we thank our friends at Science Division for sponsoring this week's episode.
Hi, Dr. Phil Phlox, also known as John Billingsley, speaking. I am the president of the board of the Hollywood Food Coalition. We serve terrific multi-course meals to the unhoused and to those in need 7 nights a week. We assist as many as 100 nonprofits with their food needs, buttressing extraordinary social service programs. We work with community partners to address issues of food insecurity here in SoCal. We do lots of other great stuff, but how much time do we have? If you're in LA, come and volunteer with us at hofoco.org/volunteer, and any Federation credits you can spare go a long way.
So, Dan, as we start to consider this week's main topic, we want to remind everyone, if you're getting ready to go to Vegas, head on over to shop.trekgeeks.com, load up with some new Trek t-shirts, help support the Trek Geeks podcast network, and, because it's going to be warm in Vegas. Yeah. You want to wear some t-shirts. Yep. You want to wear some cool Star Trek designs. We get tons of them in our store there on TeePublic. So get on over to shop.trekgeeks.com.
I like that idea. I think I would have to add to my literally 47 Star Trek t-shirts that I currently have. I counted them the other day. 47.
That's all?
Is that not the best number in the world to have of t-shirts?
It is, but I'm surprised it's that low.
Well, I have gotten rid of a few over the course of the last few months because I've worn them out.
Speaking of being worn out, let's talk about your favorite episode. No, just kidding. What a jerk I am. But yeah, the season 3 episode, classic Star Trek, the Tholian Web. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure you're of the same opinion here, and I'm going to make this statement, and you can respond to it. I really think that season 3 of the original series is just unfairly maligned.
Oh, 100%. I think there are several episodes of season 3 that are just fantastic. There are some that are not, but there are some ones that I absolutely love, and we're actually going to talk about one in a couple of weeks that always gets crapped on, and it's one of my favorite episodes just because it's so much fun. But we'll talk about that and give the name of that episode at a later time. I love season 3. I think it's fantastic.
I look at, there is some really good science fiction in season 3, and this episode is no exception, quite frankly. It's taking on something that is really, you didn't really get in Star Trek until some time later, or some version of it. And even then, it's a really smart bottle show if you think about it.
Yeah, it really is. And as we talked about earlier, I loved this episode when I was, growing up and in my teens and late teens and started collecting the VHS. I watched this episode over and over and over again. I thought the special effects for the time, it was really cool to see that web being constructed, and I always wondered what's going to happen when they finish. What's the web going to do? And we never got to really see that kind of for a long, long time. And I was disappointed when we saw what really actually happened, but that's a topic for another time as well. I loved it. I love the idea of the Tholians. I love the idea of Ghost Kirk and people losing their minds like Chekhov. It's always good to see Chekhov in pain, isn't it, Bill?
It is. It absolutely is. Can I just say that, even as a kid in the 70s watching this, I'm like, can't those Tholian ships move any faster? Because, they could totally get out of that.
Their Tholian web silk vapor trails would break if they went too fast.
But couldn't the Enterprise at that point just have gone Z minus 10,000 meters and just gotten the hell out of there?
They didn't use 3 dimensions back in TOS time.
There weren't 3 dimensions in that point of the future, is what you're telling me.
Exactly. No, that's a good point. There's so many, with any show, there's always going to be this, but if they just did that, if they just did this. And you're absolutely right. It was 2 ships forming one line at one point.
Yeah.
Reverse? But anyway.
Anything. Explosive decompression of the main shuttle bay. But of course, then Kelsey Grammer comes out of a cloud and blows you to hell.
And they didn't want to disrupt the space because of the interface. So, there's an answer. There's an answer.
No, there is. But, at some point, you're like, man, those ships are just barely moving. Really, just can't they just, dodge it or something? But it does bring to mind a really interesting problem for the crew to solve. Not only do they have to escape this, this alien, we'll call it a space prison for want of a better want of a better word, but they have to figure out a way to rescue the interphasing Captain Kirk, whom the crew, until one point in the episode, believes is dead.
Correct. Which is another great aspect. There's several different layers to this episode that really work, and one of the reasons I love it so much. Of course, you have the Tholians, which we'd never seen before, and they were nice at first. They said, okay, we'll give you your time, and then that distinct Tholian punctuality comes into play, and the web starts building, so that's 1. 2, Kirk is missing and presumed dead, that's 2. 3, the crew starts losing their minds because of the interphasic space. Episode or issue number 3. So there's a lot of things going on, a lot of stuff to digest, and a lot of problems for the crew to solve. And as they usually do, they're able to solve them all.
I love the opening teaser to this episode because from the get-go that things are just not good. I'm sorry, but if I'm on the landing party to go to the glowing green ship, see, I can't even say it. To go to the glowing green ship, automatically I'm looking to see what color uniform I'm wearing. Because if it's a red shirt, I'm not sure I'm coming back from that bad boy.
Yes, and of course it is the first Defiant that we get to see in Star Trek.
Yes.
Which is, of course, we love what comes later on in Deep Space Nine. But the Defiant with that glowing green, that's something else. And seeing when they beam into the bridge, the bodies laying there, and a couple of them at each other's throats, literally. It's a good way to start off an episode saying this is going to be really effed up.
Yeah, I mean, they get to the bridge, and there's the Defiant's captain or whoever's in command lying near his chair with another officer's hands on his neck, and they're both dead. And I mean, you look at that, and that's pretty jarring, especially for that era in television. But it's kind of how I imagine people are going to find us someday in Las Vegas.
Someday? 35 days and counting, brother.
My hand's around your neck.
Oh, I was thinking a little differently, but that's okay. That'll work too.
And plus, I mean, I love those EV suits. Let's be honest.
They are awesome. I have no idea what goes through the different colored piping that's in those things, but it still looks pretty good.
I can only imagine that there's an explanation. I'm not sure how good it is. They look kind of futuristic for 1968. I think this is 68, November 68. Mm-hmm. But they certainly don't look futuristic for 2022. Either way, they look really cool to photograph.
Have we ever seen somebody cosplay as that? That's a great.
Yes.
I vaguely remember, but they're very cool. And I've also always wondered why, if I remember correctly, half of the visual shield on their helmet is not see-through. So it's like you don't really have full vision. So I don't get it. I don't know. Of course, it's like when they turn in those suits, it's like they have a neck brace on. They don't turn their neck. They turn their whole body. So maybe that's what they're there. I don't know.
So this is the episode that people point to when criticizing Star Trek Discovery. So in Act 1 of this episode, Chekhov asks, because of the result of the dead bridge crew, if there's any record of a mutiny on a Federation starship. And Spock says, absolutely no record of such an occurrence, Ensign. Mm-hmm. When we know that that's not necessarily the case nowadays, but clearly... these people all went crazy.
They all went crazy, but perhaps it's not a record of a mutiny based on the fact that they were being affected. So whatever tribunal or whatever in the future, or maybe I'm kind of going backwards here. I'm thinking of the mutiny here with the mutiny on Discovery, saying, well, maybe because everybody was crazy. But I guess I get what you're saying. I was just thinking backwards. So just delete that whole line, Ensign.
No, we'll keep it in.
We will.
That's
because
cool.
Everybody who listens to me knows that I usually screw something up at some point. But but that's the problem. You're always going to have people that look back at past canon and are going to have a problem. I'm fine with it. Who cares? I mean, hey, Discovery didn't even exist, as a matter of fact, when you really think about it, because of what transpired in season 2. So maybe technically all records of anything happening were erased.
Well, but they weren't, because they show up in the 32nd century and Starfleet's able to go back and find them.
I'm just trying. I'm just trying. I know I'm wrong.
You're trying my patience is what you're doing. But back to Tholian Web.
Yes,
Yet we digress. So, they make it back, or most of them make it back to the Enterprise. Let's put it that way. And Kirk has everybody else beam out before him because that's what Kirk does.
Yeah.
And he stays behind, and ultimately, it doesn't turn out so well for him.
It's gone. The Defiant just vanished. Yes.
Oh, that's so painful.
Vanished. Yeah. But he does what a captain does. Got to give him credit. And of course, that's probably why captains don't go on away teams by the time we get to TNG. But I'm just throwing that out there. I like it. I like the drama involved in it, and it really gives for a tense rest of the episode, especially when everybody who sees him, everybody else thinks they're just crazy and are dealing with the death of the captain in a certain way. When he does show up and float around in different areas, and mirrors and female crew member, private quarters and stuff like that. But that's just Kirk, right?
That's just Kirk.
Yeah.
So there's something here that's always kind of not, made sense in my mind. So in Act 2, Spock says pretty much right up front that this is an area of space that's fractured, and Captain Kirk has slipped into another universe, talking about the interphase and stuff like that. But yet in Act 3, they have a memorial service for him like he's dead. He's just in another universe. That never made sense to me.
Okay. I've never really actually thought of that. That's a very good point. Now, maybe he just thought that the ship was an interface and Kirk was lost during transport. I don't know. But yeah, that's very interesting. Because he does say at the funeral or the wake or the service that he says that Captain Kirk is no longer alive, and then some guy loses his mind and starts screaming and yelling.
Yeah, no, definitely. But I mean, just, one commercial break earlier, he says the Enterprise can't expend any energy or the dimensional rift will be damaged and Captain Kirk will be lost forever.
There you go.
So, but I mean, at that point, he hasn't been lost. So that's the one thing I've never been able to reconcile. I feel like there could have been maybe a couple of additional lines of dialogue to kind of tie this together a little bit. But really, that's my only complaint about the entire episode.
It's amazing. For as many years as this has been out, as many years as I've watched it, and as many years as I've loved it, I never even put that together that that had happened. And now I hate the episode, and I'm going to watch it again. I never put that together that he won earlier. He says interface, blah blah blah, and then they're having a funeral, and they're going and listening to the tape in his quarters because he's dead.
Right?
Wow.
Or I can get that he's never gonna. Potentially, he never comes back. But at that point, I mean, they don't know if he's dead.
Yeah, that's
especially when he's all floaty around the ship at various
very
points.
Disappointed now.
Ooh.
And it's like he's trying to say something. He's like trying to yell it. He's got his hands cupped up in his mouth. He's like, check off. Stand by the phasers. No.
Belay that phaser order. Let's talk about the Tholians for a minute.
Yeah.
Man, you want to talk... Okay, we'll stipulate for the record that we know the budget was small. Okay? But... still, the Tholians look pretty badass.
They did. And I use that in the past tense. I loved what they did in TOS. And then when we saw them full body in the Enterprise episode, which we'll talk about later, I couldn't stand what they did with them. I thought it looked awful.
Well, Enterprise has really kind of a not-so-great track record with taking TOS aliens and doing full-body versions, let's be honest.
Gorn who?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, back in TOS, when we see that guy, they live in methane and whatever other gases that are so hot. They're pretty creepy and scary looking and very angular, which I thought was very cool. Very insectoid-like and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, and when you look at them on the view screen, it really looks kind of bizarre. It almost makes you wonder, is that a product of their environment, the environment on board their ship? Yeah. Is that how they actually look? But, when you're watching it in 1970s on your television, you're like, whoa, that's pretty cool.
Those red eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very cool. And the voice.
Can you do the voice?
I can't, not without hurting myself. So I'm not going to try right now. I'll practice it for our panel in Vegas.
Our panel Stump the Geek Live Thursday during the 56-year mission.
Very nice.
Where you're going to look like an idiot.
Have I really ever done bad on Stump the Geek?
Well, that's the thing. You never have. Yeah. You always pull it out. And the good news is, we're wind up, going off into a panel plug
That
here.
never
but,
happens.
If you do just as well, I mean, the audience is going to win a whole bunch of Fansets pins.
If I do just as well as if I do bad.
Either way,
Okay.
people are going to get stuff.
Well, that's good. Well, then I just guess I'll have to do good and show everybody.
How about you actually try for once? So
maybe
anyway,
I'll
back to
show up.
Tholian Web. If you don't, people are still getting pins. In fact, they might get more.
It's okay then.
The memorial service itself is a little... It feels super hollow. I feel like this crew has lost its rudder in a way. Spock is obviously able to command, but he doesn't have the same presence as Captain Kirk. And I really feel like you kind of feel that emotion from the crew in this scene.
You do from the crew that shows up. Now, the Enterprise
Right.
is a crew of 421 men and women, and like 12 show up for the memorial service. Really? For your captain? You got like maybe 20, 25 show up, not just a dozen. That's not a lot, and that really is kind of insulting for Jimmy. I think. I don't know if he ever finds out
Jimmy.
that amount of people showed up for his service, I'd be like, what the hell, man? I mean, that'd be like only 2 people showing up for yours.
Wow. Thank God they still have that chapel aboard the Enterprise. In the future, that created by secular humanist Gene Roddenberry.
Yep. It is. In all seriousness, it's a good scene. You can kind of see that Spock has some emotion, but he's also kind of hiding it, and that's I think why he comes up with that line that everyone has to evaluate the loss in the privacy of your own thoughts. He doesn't want to keep it going. He wants to get out of there, I think.
Yeah, and I love that line.
Yeah, it's a good line.
It is, and they observe a quick moment of silence. But you're right. Spock is like, we got to get back to work. He doesn't say it in his typical Vulcan, plain speech, like it's logical for us to get back to work so we can get out of here. But I think he approaches it in a very human way, honestly. And I think that's one of the things I like the most about that scene.
Yes, I agree with that. You can see that he's emotional, but he's holding it in as we've learned to see with Spock. But then I love that after the crew is dismissed, McCoy he's not a happy camper. He's not happy with what's going on. He thinks Spock has made bad decisions, and he's going to make sure in his own way that Spock suffers for what's going on by making sure that they go to the captain's quarters to listen to that last message. Spock doesn't want to do it, and he goes, "You will honor that order." Blah 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 blah. He starts getting gruff and all mad at Spock, and I think it's a great way of showing how these two best friends of Kirk are reacting to what's been going on and his quote-unquote death.
McCoy's a bit of a jerk in this episode, let's be honest.
He is, yeah. Yeah.
Because they don't have to do that now. That's not the most pressing matter ahead of them. What really is most pressing is getting the hell out of there and or rescuing the captain.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I think is very interesting about him is he's meaner to Spock than we are used to seeing him when he's mean to Spock. And I use that kind of in air quotes and kind of not. But at one point, I don't know the exact dialogue, even though I've seen it 1,000 times. But at one point, Spock says he had to ascertain that all last choices were made or something like that. And McCoy goes, "Oh, so you could make sure that he was really dead." And it's like, wow, what a dick.
Yeah.
It's just not the right way to say something like that. It sounds like McCoy thinks that Spock wanted to become captain. I mean, this isn't the mirror universe. Little plug for later. But it really is surprising that he says it in the way he says it. It's always something that's bothered me about the relationship that these two had, especially when it shows up here.
Yeah, I thought it was unnecessarily petty.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean, some people could say, well, it's the grief talking. Okay, I can buy that to some extent. But it's more over the top than Bones typically is, and it's really kind of jarring.
Yeah. And I also find it interesting that the person who gets them both back on the correct path and to not be the way that they are being to each other is the quote-unquote dead captain in his recorded message, because he knows exactly what each one is going to be doing to the other. And he goes, Bones, you need to know that he's now in command and his orders need to be followed. And then what does McCoy do? He says he's sorry. What would you have me say, Doctor? right?
100%. And it's weird that it took a recorded video to tell them that.
Jesus.
Am I wrong?
No, I mean, they're both adults, hello.
They're both officers in Starfleet.
Yeah. But
Obviously, Spock's in command and he gets to follow orders. But whenever Spock is in command, McCoy becomes unusually combative.
Yes.
Almost like he resents the fact that Spock is in command. And that's one of the aspects of that relationship I really don't like.
Yeah, it's true. It happens just about every time that Spock's in the center seat. You're right.
So let's do a little thought exercise here.
Oh, boy.
Let's pretend that you're a crewman on board the original Enterprise during this episode.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what color uniform you're wearing. You were there. You're a member of the crew. You're an officer.
Okay.
Okay. And you're in your quarters, and all of a sudden, you see a floaty image of the captain in your mirror in his EV suit. Mm-hmm. What do you do?
I get something to record it so I can prove that it's really there. Take your tricorder out.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Evidence, baby.
Wow. That's actually more logical than I thought you would be. I personally would scream bloody murder.
Oh, no, he
did. No, more like, what the hell is that? Get out of here.
Yeah. I've had 40 years to think it over. That's probably what I do. But chances are, if it really happened, I'd be like, what? Oh no, I'm out of there. I'd be running down the corridor screaming like a screamer.
And I can't blame Uhura for having the reaction she has. Mm-hmm. I mean, she faints.
She does. But I will say that the pain that she gets before she sees him is really not very. It's not good acting. She's standing and she's like, okay, I got to do this in a second. I got to make that look. It's always been kind of hokey to me. Yeah.
I think part of that's probably the direction in the scene. Plus, I mean, how do you...
Action.
You feel pain because this interphasic version of Captain Kirk is appearing in your quarters. All right. How do you determine what that feels like?
But look at... I'm only teasing. I love Nichelle.
I know.
But look at how Chekhov's pain is, and then compare it to what Uhura's pain is. If you were to put him side by side, Chekhov's is believable. Chekhov's sitting there and I was like, he's like, oh! He does that. Argh! So, but then Uhura's just like, here it comes.
Well, let's be honest. Chekhov goes a little over the top on the pain scale every time he's in pain.
I like him.
Whether it's the agonizer or this, or in TMP when he gets burned by the V'ger probe.
You love every minute of it.
I do. We can't torture Chekhov. All right. I love Walter.
Yes.
I feel like I have to state this every 20 or so episodes. I love Walter Koenig. I love the fact he's a part of Star Trek.
Yes.
He's a wonderfully kind man. I just don't like the character of Chekhov.
Yes. Yep. That's okay. He does a good job, though.
He does.
Yes.
He does a really great job with what they gave him to do.
Right.
Unfortunately, I wish it were more.
Right.
Quite honestly, I wish there were more depth to the character.
Yeah.
But it was the 60s, and Shatner was the leading man, and there were the stars, and there were the day players, and he was
Yeah. So what's interesting is after that happens, of course, she goes out and runs, and she's in some cool civilian attire. We don't get to see Uhura dressed up like that very often. She's usually in a uniform. So she's running down the hallway, and she, as you said, she faints, and then she's in sickbay, and Chekhov is in sickbay strapped down, and his arms are flailing like a T-Rex at one point. He's like, ah! He's like just going back and forth, and Uhura's just laying there peacefully. I found it interesting when they finally realized that what she was seeing was real and didn't need to be in sickbay anymore. When he comes over and takes off the restraint off of Uhura, it wasn't even on. It just like kind of flipped it off. It was like, oh wow, that's really good protecting the crew there, Pally.
Well, it's third season budget cuts.
But Chekhov was all like, he couldn't move out of his, and he's like,
like what? You look like a T-Rex having a seizure right now. I
said T-Rex a few minutes ago.
Yeah. It's interesting because for all of the criticisms I have of McCoy's response to this, he proves once again that guy can find an antidote for anything.
That good old Therigan derivative, right?
Yeah.
See, you didn't think I'd know.
And then a Triox compound.
Triox compound, yes. But yes.
It was not a neural paralyzer.
And I find it interesting that the same this is what science is, and I'm sure this is real in real science, so real sciencey people can tell me that you've got this one element that in one form it's curing of what's going on, but in another one it's deadly and you're going to die if you have it, whether it's solid or liquid or gas or liquid. Interesting.
Well, look at Botox, which is essentially, a version of botulism. And people use it to fill in wrinkles. It's interesting that that McCoy knows the chemical compound of a Klingon nerve gas.
Well, he is Bones McCoy.
Yes. And and it merely acts as a powerful nerve blocker when dissolved in alcohol, which says so much about the Klingon Empire now, doesn't it?
That's why they're always drinking blood wine.
It's why they're always drinking blood wine.
Yep. And then Scotty, of course, being Scotty, just takes the whole bottle. See ya. Going to my quarters. Be alone. Scotty's going to drink alone. That's kind of sad.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, I'm sure Scotty would rather have it that way with his technical manuals and journals.
He's going to mix it with his scotch.
Yeah. So, obviously, the big A story is getting Captain Kirk back. Mm-hmm. I feel like the B story with the Tholians suffers a little bit in the wake of that because on its own, it is an A-level story.
It is, and it kind of falls to the wayside. I mean, they're dealing with all the things with getting Kirk back, but at the same time, they're out there building that web. And the web is awesome. It's really cool. And it, like we teased a little bit earlier about it, there's only 2 ships, but they're able to get all kinds of strands going, different angles, crossing up and down and diagonally, left and right, straight and back. And it looks pretty ominous. And it's like, what's going to happen when this thing finishes? What? And their movement into the area caused the interface to shift again, and then they had to look at that really cool diagram on the monitor to see when the next interface was going to be showing up. They did it. They saved him, Bill.
Oh, and then thank the maker.
And I always also wondered why when they get him, when they escape, they disappear and pop up somewhere else. They disappear. So do they enter inner space to get away from the web?
That's a great question. I don't know. So, when Kirk is back and in a uniform and sitting in his captain's chair, he tells Spock and McCoy that he had a whole universe to himself, but he prefers a crowded one instead.
Yes.
I can only imagine how unsettling it is to be the only person for an indeterminate amount of time aboard a ship full of dead people.
True. And you're absolutely right. That's going to be a little eerie. I always took that as it was just him. And there weren't even dead people. It kind of makes me think of Ben Sisko when he was stuck in The Visitor in his own little version of subspace. Just for a quick second, I'm doing a little quick reading here, and apparently the Tholians tried to apply a tractor field, and the discharge threw the ship clear of the web is what I'm seeing on Memory Alpha. I don't really ever remember seeing that particular special effect in the Tholian Web, but we'll go with it because it just disappears and then it's okay, and Kirk was dragged along through the whole thing, so they were able to beam him back to the ship. But
yeah. And then Spock and McCoy lie to Kirk
yes, they do.
Openly and say they never watched the taped orders.
Never liked that.
I never liked that either because, one, Kirk wanted them to watch it if they thought that he was not coming back. Mm-hmm. And 2, they're outwardly lying to their best friend.
And their superior officer. And, it's the 23rd century. There's some great technology in Star Trek. You would think that Kirk could just go look at the last played date if he brings up Windows Explorer. That might give something away. But that was always something that bothered me too. Now I understand they wanted to show that they were able to get things done together, blah, blah, blah. It was not the right thing to do. If there's one thing that I've always been like, I really think that's a sucky moment of this episode, it really kind of is that. And Kirk's dumbfounded. He's like, the tape that I gave you, which you never listened to, type thing.
I feel like he doesn't buy it.
I don't think he buys it at all. But
I feel like the look Shatner gives in that scene is probably pretty spot on because if I were him, I'd be like, get out of here.
Yes. Yeah. He's like, wait a minute.
No
you
way.
Have orders to do this, and you guys don't disobey my orders, so I think you're full of it right now.
I think you're full of it, but that's another story for another time. So, Dan, go ahead.
Speaking of another time.
See, I was just going to go there.
Good segue. There we go. I'll let you do it then.
We get to see the USS Defiant again 37 years later.
Yes. Pretty awesome.
In Star Trek Enterprise, in what probably one of your favorite two-part episodes of Enterprise.
It is, in A Mirror Darkly, parts 1 and 2, where you find out that not only is interface, will a ship disappear from normal space, but it also time travels. And we get to see the Defiant back in the Enterprise timeline in the mirror universe. So it's not only goes back in time, it goes in inner space, and it crosses into a different universe. All three things wrapped in one, and we get to see the Defiant beautifully redone for that episode, which I think is a fantastic building block of how the Terran Empire came to be, or continued to be as ruthless as it was. I know you don't love it, but I just love how they're able to throw those aspects of that TOS episode into Enterprise.
I enjoy the fact that it's total and complete fan service.
Oh yeah,
that those entire episodes are really just because, you know what, we're on the way out, let's just do this.
Yep.
I don't necessarily like the mental gymnastics to bring the Tholian Web into Star Trek Enterprise, or at least the Defiant into Star Trek Enterprise. Interphasing space, gotcha. The time travel, I'm not so big on, but I don't think it's the worst sin of those episodes.
It really is a curveball, though. I don't think fans, even as fan service, was not expecting something like this. Oh my gosh, this is the Defiant from the Tholian Web. It's gone back in time, and it's in the mirror universe, which is what helps the Empire become more ruthless than it already was. So basically, the Prime Directive, if it doesn't exist in the mirror universe, of course, but is completely shattered by what happens, because without the Defiant, Archer and then Sato would never have been able to do the things they do. And that's brilliantly continued along in some of the mirror universe stories by David Mack.
Yes, I agree with that entirely. You had me read those books, and they were even better than you said they were.
Fantastic.
So, I can't recommend them more highly, quite honestly. Those mirror universe, I think for me personally, I feel like by the time we got to those episodes, the mirror universe had just been done to death. Mm-hmm. I thought the reason why it worked for TOS is because we did it once.
Yep.
I thought the first couple of times we did in Deep Space Nine, it was okay. And then after that, it was like, God, not again.
I'm a huge Mirror Universe fan. I always will be. I will never downplay the Mirror Universe. But you are absolutely right. Some of the episodes in DS9 were not good and made the Mirror Universe kind of like a laughingstock after effect. I think that they tried to bring it back a little bit with this special two-parter, and I think it was able to stand on its own and kind of redeem the Mirror Universe a little bit. But we've talked about this before. There's only so much you can do with the Mirror Universe, and Andy Robinson even talked about how he hated the Mirror Universe episode he did because it was so different than what he's used to, and he just didn't like the ruthlessness and everything. But then they continued it in Discovery, and a huge arc of Discovery, a gigantic arc that continues to this day, actually is part of that. And so I like what they did in tying this episode, Tholian Web, with Enterprise and the Mirror Universe together. But if it had ended there, I would have been okay with it.
And the Tholian in Enterprise.
Oh my God, that is just so ridiculous. It is so, the CGI and the cartoon-like quality of that special effect. I'm sorry, whoever designed it and did it. I'll give you credit for being part of a great series and a great franchise, but that Tholian in sickbay with Dr. Phlox is just really not believable at all.
Oof.
Yeah.
It's rough.
It is rough.
I appreciate the homage. Mm-hmm. I really do. But I feel like they could have done a Mirror Universe necessarily without bringing the Defiant into Enterprise.
Wasn't it great, though, to see the cast of Enterprise on the bridge of a Constitution-class starship that looked really great? And when Archer came out in that green tunic, that was another thing that I thought was just beautiful in those episodes. And then the Gorn, but we're not going to talk about that because we're talking about Tholian Web.
Yeah, and the gravity plating that we don't see in any other
ever again. Yeah.
Anyway, so if this episode is on, I'm watching it. I'm loving it because it's a great watch. Yes, I mean, there are some things that with a wink and a nod that I accept because, okay, it's Star Trek. This episode's, 50 years old already, 53, whatever. And I'm just going to accept that these things are good because I like the episode. All in all, this is probably one of the better season 3 outings.
Yeah.
And I think it does a really great job of putting Bones and Spock into a situation that they wouldn't normally be in.
I agree with you. And one of the things we were talking about a little bit, but you just brought that up, so I'm going to bring this up again. One of the quotes that McCoy uses when he's giving Spock a hard time is that right before they listened to the recording, he said he was looking at a book he was looking at a medal of Kirk's, and he said he was a hero in every sense of the word, yet his life was sacrificed for nothing. How can he say that? A, he saved a bunch of other members of his crew by having them beam ahead before him, and B, if you want to go this way, they weren't sure he was dead yet, as you pointed out, which is not going to bother me probably for the rest of my life, so thanks for that. But I don't understand that. Was that just another barb to just twist another nail into Spock's back about how he felt about what was going on? I never agreed with that comment at all.
Well, I think so. I think it goes back to the really unnecessary pettiness that McCoy is exhibiting during this time. And I get that he's hurting too. I totally understand. But a lot of that is just, it's spiteful. And that's really what, we don't expect from these characters in Star Trek, even dealing with each other. Because it's not like, well, yeah, there's that apology, in Kirk's quarters, but it's very trite. It's very brief. I expect a little more from that. And in fact, in other Star Treks, we get, look, I said this. I shouldn't have said this. I was wrong to say it. I'm really sorry. I hope we can still be friends. I really don't like the way McCoy is written in this episode.
Yeah. I mean, Starfleet's going to pin a medal on your chest and give you command of the Enterprise. Doctor, I am in command of the Enterprise. That was a great way to get back at McCoy in a Spock way. And then the reason I said that is because then that brings up another one of McCoy's undercuts that I don't like in this episode. I would like to remedy that situation. It's like, dude, what are you doing? I mean, I love the episode so much, and you always love the crankiness of McCoy, but this seemed to be over the top in this episode. Was it just his way of dealing with the fact that he thought his friend was dead? I don't know.
I have a hard time believing it. That's it. Yeah. I mean, I really think that it's just. I really think it's just a poor treatment of McCoy. Yeah. Two interesting facts about the production of this episode. This is the first episode with Al Francis as the director of photography, replacing the storied and legendary Jerry Finnerman. Francis used to work on the series as his camera operator, but he really doesn't lose a step at all, recreating Finnerman's look for shooting the series. You almost wouldn't know somebody different did it.
Yep.
And then Judy Burns, the writer who co-wrote the script with her husband, Chet Richards, actually wrote it to earn money for a study trip to Africa.
Interesting. Huh. Okay. I think that's actually one of the things that I like about the backstory of this episode is we were teasing about Nichelle Nichols in the acting scene when she has her pain. This is actually one of her 2 favorite episodes of the entire series.
Wow.
This and the Trouble with Tribbles. And she says that in this one, we think Kirk's dead and I see him floating through the walls of my quarters. That was fun to do, of course. I enjoyed anything that I was able to get out of uniform. And we were just talking about how she had those civilian clothes and how it's something we don't get to see very much. So that's kind of cool. I thought that was pretty neat that she liked doing this episode as much as she did.
Yeah, and I think that the 60s special effects, not the remastered version, which, by the way, looks gorgeous.
Fantastic, yep.
I really think that, of all the third season episodes, I don't mind the special effects in this one as much. The Tholian looks pretty badass. The web that they're creating really looks kind of cool and otherworldly. You weren't seeing that in other shows on television at the time, and I really think that they kind of took it to a different level with the Tholian Web.
They did. One of the things that I did have a problem with the special effects, and do to this day, ever since I started watching this, is the whole idea of the ship dissolving. When you think of the word dissolve, you think of a certain way of how things look. For things to just be transparent and to be able to put your hands through them, whether it be a man or a table, that doesn't seem like dissolving to me. I understand that's all they had available back in 68, 69, but it's a moment of the episode that's kind of funny to me that Bones is putting his hands through stuff and he says the ship is dissolving. I'd be like, dude, the ship is like disappearing. We got to get out of here. It's not dissolving.
Wow. So, we talked about the EV suits earlier. Here's my last fun fact for this particular episode. So Dr. McCoy's, EV suit from the Tholian Web was sold at auction in October of 2006. The original auction estimate for the suit was between $6,000 to $8,000 US. The sale price was $120,000. Which, by the time they factored in the premium and everything else, it was a total price of $144,000.
Wow.
For that EV suit.
I'd love
Can
to have
you
that.
imagine?
I can't imagine having that much money to pay for it, but I'd love to have it.
Right?
I mean, it's just awesome. Yeah, that's nuts. It is one of the more detailed outfits / uniforms / contraptions that we ever saw in TOS, in my opinion, with all the different angles of stuff and tubes and wires and colors. I've always thought it was one of the coolest things of that we got to see on the show.
And then lastly, this, the Enterprise episode isn't the last time we get a call back to the Tholian Web in Star Trek. Because Ephraim and Dot, the short trek, the animated one, directed by Michael Giacchino, the composer, actually has an animated callback to the Tholian Web.
That's right. I'd forgotten about that. Very nicely done.
Sorry, Giacchino, I think is how he pronounces
I've never been
his
able
last
to
name.
pronounce it. I just call him Mike.
Yeah, when you guys get together and hang, is that what it is?
Pretty much, yeah. Like, dude, play some music for me, Mike.
Because I've been corrected on how to pronounce his name so many times.
And we still.
You think he has it on his Twitter profile, but what do I know, right?
It's all right.
So,
we just know he writes damn good music. That's the important thing.
sorry, it's Michael Giacchino.
Giacchino.
Well, I want to get
Didn't I
that
say
correct. I'm just going by what's on his Twitter profile. I really don't listen to what you say.
Okay, then.
So, Dan, this one's definitely a see it when we talk about the original series.
Absolutely.
I love it as the day is long. I could watch it 10 times in a row and still be as happy.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I'm going to go watch it again after this.
I think that's a good idea. Maybe I'll watch it tonight after the gym when I'm like suffocating and don't have any air in my lungs, like I'm floating in space and energy.
Oh my God, it's going to feel just like that. Well, Dan, you know what else makes us feel like we're suffocating?
Oh,
It's when we don't listen to 5-Year Mission.
good save. Good save.
No save. I mean, this was a pro transition. This was a major market segue.
Okay.
Shame on you for thinking otherwise.
It just didn't sound right. But then you just, as always, you just are awesome.
It's because I'm a professional. Don't try this at home. That's why this is the flagship. Okay.
Yeah. Yet I'm here.
We love 5-Year. I know. Well, every ship needs somebody to scrub the bathroom. We love 5-Year Mission. Speaking of bathroom scrubbing, they are every ounce of music you hear on this episode. Fark, Fark is amazing. I love Fark,
Yeah.
but I love all the
They're
guys:
all
Mike,
great.
Chris, Patrick, and Noah. All the guys. I said Mike.
I know.
Yeah.
I like to say in Rittenhouse.
You just shut up.
Sorry.
Daddy's working here. But we want everyone to head on to 5yearmission.net. Buy all their albums on CD. I used to say download for years, and then because we love physical media, and then go download their podcast, 5-Year Mission, the podcast, available on your favorite podcast app or in the free Trek Geeks mobile app, because you're going to love that show too. So 5yearmission.net. Go get all of their stuff. Make it yours. Become a huge fan like Dan is and like I am.
They were so good at Mission Chicago live, weren't they?
Especially when Tawny Newsome played with
up
them.
there. Oh my God, I was just thinking about that today and how great it was. They need to get together and make a single. That's all I'm saying. But you know what amazes me, buddy, is even in the future, people can be just so dumb. You would have thought that in 300 years...
Kind of like the co-host of this show.
Well, exactly. All the stupid that you and I ooze from our very pores every week would have been weeded out after time. Yes, both of us.
You and I?
You and I. I'm saying that this is my time now, sir. I would be happy if we would be quiet. But in this episode, The Enterprise is taking an ambassador to open diplomatic relations with Aminiar 7. You know where I'm going with this. They don't know much about these people. They're warned to stay away, but the ambassador orders them to proceed anyway. The planet is fighting a neighbor over music rights to a rock band and has been fighting about it for centuries. They fire on the ship, and then the leader, Anan 7 from Aminiar 7, don't know what that means. He goes, "Oh, that was just a malfunction. We're sorry. Come on down." The ambassador says, "Oh, okay, we'll be right there." And then they're captured and scheduled for disintegration. Perhaps a little more caution could have been used after your ship is fired upon, wouldn't you say, Ambassador Robert Farks? That's right, I said it, and I'm saying you should check this one out. It's a taste of Farkmageddon. Can't be missed. Double Farkism for this week because it's awesome. You're awesome. Bill's awesome. Fark's awesome. Farkisms are awesome.
That's a lot to digest right there. I have one question.
Oh, boy.
So are you saying Fark has those ugly bags under his eyes like that dude in the episode who plays Ambassador Farks?
What kind of a monster are you?
I'm asking the question.
I guess so.
Can you believe that dude in that episode, when they filmed that, was younger than we are now?
No, I actually can't believe that. All I know is that outfit that he's got on with that giant neck collar thing is just really heinous.
It looks like the fish people in Next Gen.
And he didn't even have any makeup on.
Right? Oh. But a taste of Farkmageddon.
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 It's Ambassador Farks from A Taste of Farkmageddon. That's why I do these, Bill.
I think we know why you do these. 5yearmission.net. Please don't drive into a bridge abutment. Go to 5yearmission.net and buy all their CDs. Dan, don't forget that you and everyone else can support the Trek Geeks Podcast Network by subscribing to us on Patreon. We got all kinds of perks. Last year's Patreon pin just came in from Fansets. Mm-hmm. And we're getting ready to send those out very soon, the 2020 ones. When the 2021 pins... No, sorry,
21, 22, yep.
The 21 pin just came in. Yep. The 22 pin is in design. Yep. And this is some beautiful stuff.
It's beautiful. And I'll tell you what, if you're a member of our Patreon, you could go see it right now because we actually posted a picture of it. And it's right there. It's beautiful. We got that. We got other perks on the way. We've been talking about it for a while, but we are going to be redesigning our tier levels. And it's going to be to benefit all of our wonderful patrons. So thank you for that. We want to take a moment right now to thank our associate producers for Trek Geeks. As always, we just cannot thank them enough for their support. And they are Vikram Bhatt, Brad DeMag, William Edward M. Jr., Patrick Escudero, Andy Fark, Kimberly Francis, Jonathan Hamilton, Peter Hong, William Jackson, Ryan Jeffs, John Krikorian, Sean Lynn, Rick Mason, Jamie McGregor, Ross McKinney, Jim McMahon, Aaron Mollenkoff, Casey Pettit, Helen Reed, Sarah Rutlinger, Tim Robertson, Desi Rogers, Greg Rozier, Eric Sakian, Adam Sanders, Tim Serdar, Heather Sohn, Blake Strike, Rick Tatro, Lisa Tomlinson, Ron Robel, and the gracious and wonderful Connie Hutchins.
Oh, you almost sounded German there. That was wonderful. We also want to thank our Trek Geeks producers for their support. Mike Bovia, Steve Bovia, Chaz Bradshaw, Kyle Castillo, Peter Craig, Andy Davenport, Craig Ewing, Jackie and Chris Hackney, Kimberly Hartman, David Hood, Lionel Marchand, Matt McGonigal. And Dan, just for the record, when I'm working on one laptop screen, I can't even see you because I have to read this list. So I know you're doing something stupid because I can hear you breathing. Stop breathing. Darren Metcalf, Charlie Mulvey, Sean Halloran, Jamie Rogers, Major Self, Casey Shafsky, Terry Shull, Jim Stoffel, Chris Tribuzio, Ken Tripp, Christina Werther, and the lovely and talented Jess Vashon. Dan, the senior producer of Trek Geeks, is the non-interphasing June Tatman.
If he interphased, he'd be awesome in the other space as well. So it really doesn't
He'd be
matter.
Awesome in all universes.
All the dimensions, all the multiverses, all the multiplexes, all the mirror universes. That's a lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff.
Anyway, you too can become a producer on the Trek Geeks Podcast Network, and it is so easy to do. Head on over to patreon.com/TrekGeeks for all the details.
Dan, next week, because we're back to weekly, baby,
Boom.
We're going to take a page out of our friend Jim Morehouse's book with a list of some kind.
Absolutely. We absolutely are. We always have loved being guests over on Trek Ranks, and next week we're going to do exactly that. With over 800 episodes to choose from, Bill and I are going to give our all-time top 5 Star Trek episodes, and it all happens here next week on Trek Geeks, the flagship of the Trek Geeks podcast network.
Just to clarify, Jim isn't coming on the show, and we're not doing an episode of Trek Ranks.
No, God, no.
Okay, because I got a little confused. I'm not that bright.
We're just, you know what? Imitation is the best form of flattery. So there you go, Jim. We're going to do kind of a top something or other, something.
Yeah, no. Of course, for more great Star Trek discussion, we want everyone to check out the other member podcasts of the Trek Geeks podcast network. We got a lot of shows, Dan. A lot of shows.
Thank you.
All of them run by passionate fans who just want to celebrate Star Trek and the vision of Gene Roddenberry. You can find all our podcasts in the free Trek Geeks mobile app, or fed a link to your favorite podcast player by visiting trekgeeks.com/listen. Yes, I said fet because it was in the copy.
I don't know why that was there. The Trek Geeks podcast network. No one talks Trek like we do.
No one, and of course, for all the news on all the Star Treks, please visit our great friends at treknews.net. For now, this has been episode number 285 of the Trek Geeks podcast. We'll see you next week. Live long and prosper.
A renowned Tholian coconut.
Oh, wait. What's a Tholian coconut look like?
Face.
Okay.
Music for Trek Geeks is provided by 5 Year Mission. They're writing an original song for each episode of Star Trek. Hear more of their music at 5yearmission.net. Trek Geeks is a production of Coconut Media Works. Executive producers Bill Smith and Dan Davidson. For more great Star Trek discussion, discover the other shows of the Trek Geeks podcast network at trekgeeks.com, or find us in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app.
Bing bong there, buddy.
Whew. Bing bong.
Bing bong.
Sweaty bing bong.
Well, you probably hear the hum of my air conditioner in the background. That's because I don't want to be sitting here in 95-degree weather.
That's all right. It's sweaty. But this is the sound of your air conditioner. Ready? Do you want me to just do that for the next 7 minutes for the outtake?
That's what your voice normally sounds like.
I thought it was like cat scratch. Fever. Sorry.
Are you, though? Are you sorry?
I'm not. I have to get it out of my system at some point, So, anyway.
When does that start, actually?
It'll start right now.
Oh, God.
I like your shirt, even though the listeners can't see it.
Yeah, that's brilliant, buddy.
Let me give you a description, ladies and gentlemen. It is a black T-shirt. It looks very svelte on Mr. William Smith. It is the Enterprise and says, "Go bold or go home." Bye.
I am at home.
Well, there you go. See? So it's a win-win for you.
So I'm not going boldly.
Jeez, wow.
You can see which side of that equation I chose. I'm at home.
I like math. It's a good equation.
So we walked outside to take Isabella out for a quick potty break before we recorded today. And you open the door and you just get smacked in the face with that oppressive, humid heat. Oh my God.
Yes, you do.
I feel like every year I forget how much I hate July in New England. And there's no reprieve.
No.
For at least, for the next 7 days, it's going to be like this continually, and who knows when it's going to change.
Yeah, it's they got heat indexes and heat waves and alerts and special, heat emergencies in Boston, and it's pretty much everywhere. I heard a report that said this morning that 80% of the continental United States is facing 90 degrees plus over the next few days. 80%. Yeah. That's a lot. And of course, what's going on in Europe right now is crazy too.
But there's no climate change.
None. No. Come on. Stop talking like that. Crazy person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe my wife used the phrase, and I used this on Twitter not too long ago today, as we record this, that it's as hot as Satan's butt crack outside.
It's pretty hot.
Oppressive too, right?
Oof. Ugh, jeez, moist.
I can't think of anything else more oppressive other than your face. Oh my God, you walked right into
I didn't
it.
really say anything. You did it on
You
your
didn't.
own.
For once, you didn't have to.
I know, and I still get screwed. So thank you. I just know where I stand here on the podcast network, and I'm happy to be part of it, sir.
Are you?
No,
Are you part of it?
I guess not anymore. Come on, you wouldn't be able to do anything without me. You'd miss me too much.
I think my workload would be the same.
Hey, you give it to yourself, so you haven't.
I don't dispute that,
Yes,
Mr. I iron my underwear. This is the second time we've recorded in a row, and your ironing board has been in the ready position behind you.
That is pretty much where it is now. At all. Well, I shouldn't say at all times, but I brought it up here because I'm up here most of the time. So if I need to do a couple of things, if I got a script running or I'm doing something that's going to take a while to finish, I'll go do a couple shirts or something like that. So it keeps me busy, and so I just figured I'd keep it up here. So it's been up here.
Do you iron your jeans?
No, I do not.
I was just curious.
I take that back. If they've been like in the dryer for a long time and I take them out and they're just awful, I will run them quickly, but I don't do like creases and stuff like that. I just
Oh, thank God.
yeah. No, don't do that. No.
You do what?
No.
No. Yeah.
No, I do t-shirts, I do shorts, I do dress pants.
Underwear.
And I do not do underwear. Until you show proof that it has happened, it's not debatable because it's not true.
I don't need to show proof. You need to prove that you don't.
How do I do that? You have to have physical evidence to show that you don't. And if you don't do something, you don't have the evidence. But if I did do something, you would have the evidence, and you don't have the evidence.
This is not a court of law.
I'm
You're not innocent until
concerned
proven guilty.
With your rules, sir.
You are guilty until proven innocent.
Wow, that's great. America.
This is like Cardassian society. Okay, I can't wait to yank out one of your molars.
Yes. Oh, that'll be awesome. With a pair.
You thought O'Brien was suffering. Just wait.
Cardassian pliers. They probably have like ridges and scales on them.
Those things are gnarly.
Very.
Like what?
That was me with my.
You look like you just got caught by a fish hook.
I say my tooth just hurts. Pine cone. Little reference there. Little Ice Age reference.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway.
That's been a while since I've heard that. My God.
Good movie. Good movie.
So, buddy, here we are. Less than 5 weeks
I
to
know.
Vegas.
That is pretty incredible.
I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with myself. We haven't been in 3 years.
You know what kind of stinks though? If it was the regular schedule, it would be 2 weeks, and then it would be awesome. Now it's still 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Though, so.
Yeah, I know. This being the last weekend, or the weekend before Labor Day, let's be honest, it's tough. I mean, there's so much that we might normally have tried to do after that we just can't do.
Nope.
Like, I would have loved to have gone to Trek-Ondaroga this year.
Yep. Absolutely.
But it's just, we can't.
I don't. Not if I want to stay married, or
Well, there's that.
Live.
One of those is preferable.
Right.
I'd rather you stay married.
Yes, I would rather stay married as well. Yeah.
So your wife gets a big fat life insurance
There
check.
you go.
Did I say that out loud?
It's okay. Everybody knows it. Everybody thinks it. You're just the only one who'll say it.
So, can you imagine what it's going to be like at the gym later today?
Oh my God! Why did you have to say that? I hope they have the doors closed and the AC on.
Dude, even with the AC on, it's still
Just think of
85.
how much extra calories you're going to burn because you're going to be sweating so much. Maybe they'll play the oldies today.
Do you think heat stroke burns more calories?
Heat stroke me. Heat stroke me. Heat stroke. Heat stroke.
You know, they played that song. That song was actually on the music at the gym on Monday.
Yes, it was. That's right. I forgot about it. Yep.
The Stroke by Billy Squier.
Yep. It was. Yeah, it's gonna be a sweat fest, but I'm okay with it. It's good. It's all good.
We left Monday, and of course it was hot. Mm-hmm. And I got home, and I still felt like I was dying. And then I went to bed, and I was still like warm.
Yeah, it was toasty. Yeah, today's going to be brutal, and I forget what the exercises are today. I don't have my phone with me, so I can't check. Oh, yeah, I do. I don't think anybody cares, but they have some good stuff at the gym. I love this gym. It's great. It's been the #1 voted gym in New Hampshire for like 5 years in a row. So that's always cool. But it'll be fun. We'll have a good time.
Yeah.
You know what? Is the wife going today?
She is.
Excellent.
She went last Monday. She just went at noon. Because of we found out that Isabella really doesn't like thunderstorms.
Yeah.
So like there were 2 times last week where after thunderstorm she actually threw up in the middle of the night.
Oh boy.
Like hours after the thunderstorm, because we think that her body had finally just unclenched to the point where she just spilled everything out. Yeah. No. And it was brutal. The poor kid.
Poor little girl.
So we weren't sure if she was going to do the same thing with the thunderstorms that came through on Monday, so we decided to divide and conquer so that she wouldn't have to be crated.
Oh, there you go. That's good.
That way one of us could stay home with her, put on the thunder shirt, and hold her close and be sure that she knew she was okay.
Did she do the burpees and the jumping jacks when you put on the thunder shirt? No.
I said thunderstorm, not thunderstruck.
I know, but whenever I hear the word thunder, that's automatically in my head, and I start doing it.
Well, you better drop right now and give me a burpee, jerk. No. I mean the real thing.
I have my headset on. It's wired to the computer. It's going to...
You can take it off.
I don't want to do it. No.
I'll lie. So at our gym, we do this thing called the Thunderstruck Challenge, where you have to do jumping jacks through the AC/DC song Thunderstruck until you hear the word thunder or thunderstruck, and then you have to do a burpee.
Yes.
But you keep doing jumping jacks the entire time.
I love
And Dan, thank you for doing the burpee. I really appreciate it.
Hey, you know what? I'm here to help. Yeah. I love it.
I hate Thunderstruck as much as I hate you.
I love it. And one of these days I'm going to find out if there's going to be Thunderstruck ahead of time, and I'm going to bring in my old Guitar Hero guitar, and during the guitar solo I'm going to do Angus's little like jaunt down the stage playing the guitar during the solo. It's going to be fun.
The hell you are. You're going to do jumping jacks.
Well, it's still exercise.
No. It is not.
Oh, that is an exercise, believe me. It's an exercise in balance and coordination, of which I have neither, so it'll be hard.
I think half the gym is going to beat you over the head with that Guitar Hero guitar.
They'll all be cheering.
Quite frankly. Yeah, cheering as you get beaten. Beaten about the head and shoulders.
Oh, my God. So what's violence today?
I'm just being honest. You want violence? I have to share a hotel room with you in 5 weeks. I don't want to hear it.
That's not violence. That's more like torture.
No, it's going to bring me to violence. Are you kidding me?
Oh, I see. Excellent. Well, okay then.
That or it's going to bring my liver to a place that I'm not sure I'm willing to go.
That's not going to be because of me, though.
No, it will. They will.
Yes. Okay then. Anyway, had a good time in Bar Harbor.
All right, you got to see Ron Roble?
Yes, surprised the hell out of him. It was awesome. I walk in and he was like, "Ha." It was pretty good. It's good to see him.
Ron, who is the host of ConPod here on the Trek Geeks Podcast Network. Yeah. It's only recently that I've learned his name is Roble and not Robel.
Oh, I've always thought it was Robel as well.
If you've ever heard him say his own name, as I have.
I probably haven't, just it hasn't even processed. How long did it take us to get Lionel right?
Who?
Lionel? Lionel Marchand? Marchand Band? What? I don't know.
Oh my God!
That's your part of the reading. I don't worry about it.
I hate you so much.
But it was great to see him. He has a great little coffee shop right at Bar Harbor. It's in a great location. The stuff he makes is awesome, and it was really great to see him and spend a little bit of time with him.
Well, it's good.
Yeah.
It's a time I didn't have to spend with you, so that's even better. You ready to do this there, jerk?
Yeah, like right now, please.
Oh,
okay, bye.
Let me get on that, Mr. Executive Producer. That's back. Shut up and mute out already.